5 things you must always keep private. We live in a culture that rewards transparency. Share your thoughts, share your feelings, share your plans. But here's the truth. It's not always a good idea to be completely transparent. Transparency is not the same as wisdom, and sharing valuable information is not the same as sharing everything. There's a difference between connection and exposure. Personal goals and ideas should be stored in the same cabinet as your social security number, not because they're secret, but because they're sensitive. The more people know about your direction, your strategy, and your progress, the more influence they gain over it. And most people don't realize this. Oversharing feels powerful in the moment, but psychologically, it weakens leverage. Your brain confuses expression with execution. Your environment introduces noise, and your clarity starts to fragment. The most powerful people aren't loud, they're selective, because some things lose strength the moment they're exposed. Here are 5 things you must always keep private. 1. Your next move. Announcing your next move feels productive. It feels bold. It feels confident. It feels accountable. But neurologically, it can sabotage you. When you tell people your plans, your brain releases dopamine, the reward chemical tied to achievement. The problem is that your brain doesn't fully distinguish between doing the work and talking about the work. So when someone says, "That's a great idea. You're going to do amazing. That sounds huge," your brain registers partial success. You feel progress before progress actually exists, and that artificial sense of progress can reduce the urgency to execute. Psychologists call this a social reality effect. Once other people recognize your future identity, entrepreneur, creator, builder, leader, your brain begins accepting that identity before you've earned it. But socially real is not the same as materially real. There's another risk people rarely talk about. When you reveal your next move, you expose your strategy. Someone else might take the idea and act on it faster. Or you might tell someone close to you who simply doesn't see the value in the idea. They may respond with indifference or doubt. And suddenly something you were excited about begins to feel less certain. Not because the idea was bad, but because early belief is fragile. History gives us a powerful example of this. The Wright brothers spent years quietly experimenting with flight inside a small bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio. While other inventors were publicly claiming breakthroughs and chasing recognition, the Wright brothers focused on silent experimentation. They didn't make loud promises to the world. They built, tested, failed, adjusted. And in 1903, they quietly achieved the first powered airplane flight. By the time the world realized what had happened, the work was already done. Their success wasn't built through announcements, it was built through quiet execution. Momentum thrives in silence. When fewer people know what you're building, you spend less time explaining and more time executing. So build first, move quietly, and announce results, not intentions. 2. Your long-term vision. Big visions are fragile in the early stages. When an idea is new, your belief in it is still forming. Psychologically, that belief is unstable, and the human brain is extremely sensitive to social influence. Even subtle reactions can change how you feel about your own ideas. A raised eyebrow, a doubtful tone, a quick laugh. Your brain interprets those signals as feedback about reality. And because of something called negativity bias, one skeptical comment can outweigh 5 supportive ones. You might share a dream with someone and hear, "That sounds risky. Most people fail doing that. Are you sure that's realistic?" Even if they mean well, that doubt becomes part of your internal thinking. Now your brain is managing fear instead of pursuing the vision. History is full of examples like this. When Nikola Tesla spoke about wireless communication and transmitting information across the world without wires, many people thought the idea sounded impossible. Even the concept of personal computers was once dismissed. In 1943, IBM chairman Thomas Watson reportedly suggested that the world might only need a handful of computers. Ideas that reshape the world almost always look unrealistic at first. If those visions depended on early public approval, many of them would have died before they ever existed. This is why many creators, inventors, and entrepreneurs protect their ideas while they are still developing. Creativity often requires incubation. Your mind needs quiet space to refine and strengthen the concept before exposing it to criticism. If too many people weigh in too early, the vision becomes diluted. You start adjusting it to satisfy opinions. Eventually, the original idea disappears. Strong visions are built privately before they're tested publicly. Protect your belief while it's still forming. 3. Your good deeds. Doing the right thing feels good. Helping people, giving generously, acting with discipline. But psychology shows that when good deeds become public performances, something subtle begins to change. There are two types of motivation: intrinsic motivation, doing something because it aligns with your values, and extrinsic motivation, doing something because of external rewards like praise, recognition, or approval. When acts of kindness or discipline are constantly shared, the motivation can shift. Instead of thinking, "This is the right thing to do," your brain begins thinking, "People will see this." And once the brain associates good behavior with attention, it begins expecting that reward. This is why some people only stay disciplined when others are watching. The focus slowly shifts from character to reputation. Social media amplifies this effect. Acts of generosity get posted, discipline gets broadcast, kindness becomes content. And while the intention may still be good, the behavior can slowly become tied to validation. But the strongest habits are built in private, when no one is watching, when there's no applause. Private discipline builds permanent identity. Character grows in darkness. 4. Your deepest struggles while you're still healing. Vulnerability can be powerful, but timing matters. There's a difference between processing pain and reliving it. When you talk about trauma or emotional wounds too early, the brain can reactivate the same emotional circuits tied to the original experience. The amygdala, the brain's threat detector, becomes active again. Instead of healing the memory, you reinforce it, you relive it, over and over. Another risk is social. Not everyone who listens is equipped to protect your vulnerability. Some people simply store the information, and in the wrong moment, that information can be used against you. This doesn't mean you should never open up, but healing requires the right environment, the right timing, and the right people. A powerful rule many psychologists suggest is simple: share the scar, not the wound. Once the experience has been processed, integrated, and understood, then sharing it can help others. But while it's still raw, privacy protects recovery. Heal quietly, rise loudly. 5. Your biggest blessings. Success changes social dynamics, not always in obvious ways. Human psychology includes something called social comparison theory. The moment people see someone succeeding, the brain automatically begins comparing, even among friends, even among family. This doesn't mean people are malicious, but comparison can trigger subtle feelings of envy, and envy changes energy. Sometimes people begin to compete. Sometimes they distance themselves. Sometimes they unconsciously hope you slow down so they feel more comfortable again. History shows that many powerful people understood this. Old European wealth traditions followed a quiet rule: never display everything you have. Families that lasted generations understood that visibility attracts attention, and attention attracts pressure. Even today, many of the world's wealthiest individuals live far more privately than people expect, not because they lack success, but because they understand something simple. Privacy protects peace, and the more attention you attract, the more pressure you invite. So celebrate your wins, just don't feel the need to broadcast every detail. Peace grows in privacy. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. Your goals, your vision, your discipline, your healing, your blessings, they grow stronger when they're protected. The less predictable you are, the harder you are to control, and that kind of quiet discipline creates real power. If this video made you think differently, comment private. And if you want to understand how everyday advice can sometimes manipulate behavior without people realizing it, check out the video Daily Life Hacks Exposed. It breaks down the hidden psychology behind common habits people recommend every day. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Move smart, not loud, and protect what matters most.